This is a really cool week. This week, we're going to be adding radio buttons and check boxes. We're also going to add a menu, and then we're also going to add images to our application. So let's go ahead and jump in and have some fun with this. The first step is, since we're going to use images, you need to get those images and add them to your project. That's the first step. And we need to have 3 images. We need to have a dirt, and let me see if I can see it right here. Let's see, we need to have a dirt. And I think I'm going to bold that. So we need to have dirt, and then we need to have grass, and then we need to have gravel. Okay, so those are the 3 images that we need. And you can just Google and just grab an image. Now, when you Google, make sure that you use Creative Commons. All right, so then that way you can get some free images, and then we don't have to worry about what are the copyright issues for using them in our projects or anything like that. All right, let's go ahead and do that first. So I'm going to click over here, and now also we want to take that dirt image and we want to resize it to 400 pixels wide, and then we also want to make sure that it is a JPEG. All right, so we want to save it as a JPEG. So let me just drag this down a little bit so you can see. These are the steps that we're going to be taking with each image. All right, so, and let me see, navigate to your desktop. There we go. Okay, so those are the steps that we're going to be taking with each image. So the first step, let's go ahead and open up our browser, and then we're going to type in dirt, and then make sure you type in Creative Commons, so that way it'll bring up the free images. All right. And then I'm going to click on images right over here. And we've got plenty to choose from. Oh my gosh. So you can pick whatever image you want. It really doesn't matter. So I can pull this one. I can pull this one. That looks really good too. I can pull this one. That one looks really good. So just whatever image you like. This is a good one. But what we want to do is we want to show the client that they can have they have a dirt yard, and we're going to convert it to a grass yard, or we're going to convert it to a gravel yard. So for our application, we're going to start with dirt, and then when they click the radio button, it's going to go to grass. When they click the other radio button, it's going to go to gravel. So give them a taste of what they're purchasing. All right, and let's see. You know what? I like this one right here. Really torn between this one and this one, and you know what? I'm going to go with this one. All right, so now I've got this one, so I'm going to click on it, and there's the picture. So now I'm going to right click on it, and then I'm going to hit Save Image As right there, and then the first thing you want to do is just go straight over to your desktop. All right, let's go ahead and save it to the desktop to make sure that we can find it very, very quickly. Okay, and then you can see that it's called big old name. I'm going to change the name, and I'm going to change it to just plain old dirt. All right, leave the extension because you have to use Paint or another application to change the image type. So make sure you leave that extension. All right, and then I'm going to hit save. All right, there's my first one. Now I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to minimize this, and you can see I saved it to my desktop. There it is right there. So I'm going to right click on it, and then I'm going to say open with. You can see open with right down there. Now Paint comes up. If Paint does not come up for you, then just click on choose another app and then go look for Paint. If you're working on Macintosh, then just use a photo editor in the Macintosh, and then just start Googling so you can figure out how to resize the image and do things like that. All right, so with Paint it's extremely easy. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and I'm going to open it up. Then you want to come up here to resize right there, resize, and then you want to click on pixels right there. And then you want to change the horizontal. Now you'll notice that it says maintain aspect ratio. Make sure that that stays checked, okay? And then you want to come over here and change the horizontal to 400. So the horizontal should be 400 pixels. And don't worry about the vertical, it will change automatically. The horizontal is what matters for our application. All right, so once you've got that set, hit your OK button, and you can see now it changes to 400 pixels wide. Then we're going to come over here and save it. Now to save it, we may need to change the type. And this is where you change the type, and it's very, very easy to do it. You come down here to Save As, and then you come over here to JPEG. So if you downloaded a PNG file or if you downloaded another type file like that, it's not a problem because right here you're going to save it as a JPEG. So you can see it, the Save As type says JPEG now, and if it used to say PNG, guess what? Now it's a JPEG. So make sure that the file name is just plain dirt, D-I-R-T, and that's all, okay? .jpeg, of course. So, and again, make sure that you're on your desktop because we're going to need to be able to find it very, very quickly in just a couple minutes. All right, so once you have that set, hit save, and I'm going to hit yes. I do want to replace it with the resized image, so I'm going to hit yes. And then now I can close this, and I'm done with, and I have dirt ready to go. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to close this tab, and then I'm going to change the word dirt over to grass. And then again, Creative Commons, so we don't have to worry about the copyright issues. And then just pick any grass. I mean, this one right here is really cool. This one's cool. I mean, they're all cool. I'm liking these a lot. So we want to show the customer that we're going to produce a grass yard for them. Boy, that one looks really good. But I don't like the squares on it. Let me scroll down a little bit, see if I can find anything that just jumps out at me. And go ahead and just pick whichever one you want. This one right here looks really nice. And I'm going to go ahead and just pick this one right here. This one right here looks really nice to me right there. Okay. And again, you can pick whichever one you want, whatever looks good to represent a grass yard, because we're creating a landscaping company, so we want to represent what we're going to do for the customer. All right. And I think I'm going to go with this one right here. Okay, so now I'm going to click over here, and then I'm going to right click on it, and then I'm going to hit Save Image As, and then I'm going to save it to my desktop. I'm going to change the name to just plain old grass. So I want it to say just grass, and then whatever extension. Again, do not change the extension because that extension is very important, otherwise Paint will not be able to open it. All right, so I'm just changing it to just grass. I'm hitting save, and then I'm closing this, and then I'm going to change this to gravel. And this one looks really good. I think I'm liking this one already. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on this one, and then I'm going to click over here, and I'm going to right click. I'm going to hit Save Image As, and then again desktop, and then with this I'm going to change it to just gravel. And again, please do not change the extension. You'll just save as, and that will convert it to JPEG. So right now you have to leave it on whatever extension you have. All right, so I'm going to hit save, and then now that I've got all three, I can go ahead and close this. Dirt is already done. Grass, I need to edit that one, so I'm going to right click on it, right click. I'm going to say open with Paint, and then right away I need to hit resize, and I need to hit pixels, and I want it to be 400 pixels wide, and then I'm going to hit OK, and then I'm going to click File, Save As, and I want to save it as a JPEG, so I'm going to go to JPEG image. Then for the file name, I need to first of all, I have to make sure it's on my desktop. Then I need to make sure the name is just grass, and that's it, with the .jpeg, and then the save as type should say JPEG. Okay, so now I'm going to hit save. I'm going to hit yes. All right, so now I'm going to close this one. Grass is done. Now I need to go gravel. So you can see that the gravel is already a JPEG, so you don't have to resave it as a JPEG. You can just resize it and then just save, and then you're done. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit Open with Paint. And then again, the first thing is resize pixels. So we don't want to cut it by percentage, we want to cut it by pixels. We want it to be 400 pixels wide. And then I'm going to hit the OK button. And then I'm going to click File, and I could just hit Save because it is a JPEG, but I'm going to go ahead and just do Save As in case you are working with a PNG or a GIF or something like that. So I'm going to hit JPEG, and then again, make sure it's on your desktop, and then make sure the name is that. Make sure this says JPEG on the Save As type. Hit your Save, and then I'm going to hit Yes to replace. Then I can close this. I'm ready to go. All right, so I've got 3 images. How do I get them over into my project? And the answer is very, very easily. Watch this. Let's go ahead and open up NetBeans and then open up your project. So hit the plus sign next to your project and then go to the source packages and open that up. And then you got your default package. Go ahead and open that up. So this right here is our code, right? The images need to be in the same folder as the code. So watch this. You might have to hit this icon right there so that it's restored, so it's not taking up the whole screen. So if it looks like that where it's full size, just go ahead and click it so that it's not. That way you can grab this side over here like this and you can pull it. You see that? So we need to be able to pull it so that we can see our images. Then with this open, I have my destination available. So I can just grab these 3 and just drag and then drop it right into that folder. So you can either use the line, see where the line tells us it's going to drop it, see that line right there? Or we can just put it right on top of the default folder like that. Either way is going to work perfect. So I'm going to release it, and look at that. I now have the images inside my project. All right, and it was that easy, literally that easy. So the question is, did I really? Was it really that easy? Well, let's go ahead and delete these pictures here. So I'm going to delete these guys. Okay, then I'm going to come over here to my File Explorer, and I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to go over to my documents. And actually, you know what? It's not in my documents. It's actually here in my CIS355A folder. So I'm going to open this up, and there's the project. Okay, because remember, we're saving everything to the same folder, right? So now I'm going to open this up, and then I go into the source code. This is the source code, and look what I see. It made copies of the files, and it put it right there in my source code. So yes, these files are part of my project now. Awesome. All right, let's keep on going. So I'm going to pull this open so I can have more room to type. And let's look at the instructions. And then we should have the 3 files resized and named, and we did that, and we did that. And if you close NetBeans and check the project directory, you'll find that the images, and actually you don't even have to close NetBeans. You can actually just say, if you check the project directory, you'll find the images in the same folder as your landscape GUI Java file. Isn't that cool? All right, so now we're on step number 4. So now we're here. So I'm going to actually do a split screen. So if I grab from the title bar right up here and I drag straight down, I can then pull it over to the right. So I'm taking my Word document, and then you just push it off the screen. You literally want to push it off the screen. And as you are pushing it off the screen, you release it. And then that's your split screen mode. Then you can choose whatever other application to be on the other side. So I'm going to choose my NetBeans. And then I can grab the edge between the two, and I can say how much of the screen I want to give to Word and how much of the screen I want to give to my NetBeans. All right, so I'm going to do that. Now this right here is way too much room, so I'm going to grab this bar and I'm going to drag it over to the left so that I can still see everything. However, I will have the most amount of room for my code because that's the most important part. Okay, so now over here you can see I've got a lot of white area here and a lot of white area here. So I'm going to go ahead and click View on the title bar, and then I'm going to hit Zoom, and then I'm going to hit Zoom, and then I'm going to say Text Width. I like text width a lot. So I'm going to hit OK, and there we have it. All right, so now we're on number 4, and I can see this a lot better now. So now I'm going to right-click on the Landscape GUI file in the projects pane, that's left side, and then choose Copy, and then right-click and paste Refactor. And then for the new name field, use Landscape GUI _info. Because remember, this right here, the red, if you want to get rid of the red, just right-click, and then just hit Ignore All, and that gets rid of the red. And, ooh, there's no underscore. So that should have an underscore right there. Ah, the underscore is actually just not showing. It does have an underscore because I'm typing the underscore, but it's just not showing. So if I zoom it up, you should be able to see, there you go. So I didn't have to zoom it up much, and you can see that there is an underscore in there. Okay? And maybe I just couldn't see it. Maybe it was there. Maybe you all saw it, but I didn't see it just because eyesight. All right, so I'm going to come over here and let me make it just a touch bigger. All right, that should be big enough. Okay, so class names cannot have spaces. That's why we have to have an underscore right there. So I'm going to come over here to Landscape GUI right there. I'm going to right-click on it. Now I'm going to hit Copy. Then I'm going to right-click on the default package, and then I'm going to hit Paste. And then when I go paste, it says straight copy or refactor. You definitely want to use refactor. Okay, refactor will change the names as necessary to make it fit into your project. Okay, so definitely use refactor. So I'm going to click on it, and then it says what name should I use? Get rid of the 1 on the end. Get rid of it, and then put an underscore info. Like that, underscore info, and then hit refactor. Okay, so now if I hit design, you'll see it's an exact copy of the other one. See that? So perfect. Now this I'm going to click and I'm going to drag it over to the right so I can see this, but I'm going to get it really close just because I want to see this as much as possible, and especially my properties down here. Okay, so everything's beautiful. So now I'm on number 5. Close the Landscape GUI Info tab. So I'm going to close the Landscape GUI Info tab by hitting the X. All right. And then double click on Landscape GUI. So right here's my Landscape GUI. I'm going to double click. And then it says confirm that the Landscape GUI is open by reading the tab. So you can see this just says landscape GUI.java, and that's it. So perfect. All right, delete the following methods. Since we're not going to need them in the Landscape GUI, be careful, delete the entire method and nothing more. So I'm going to go over to source, right there, source. And then the methods are all located at the bottom. So I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom. Now you can see the methods, and they're kind of big. And the important part is making sure to not delete that one right there, because that curly brace right there is the closing curly brace for your class. So you have to be really careful, okay? All right, so now I'm going to show you a little trick. This right here, if you see a minus, that will actually collapse the code. So I can hit the minus there, I can hit the minus there, and then I can come up here, and then I can hit the minus on this one as well, and that will collapse the method code. You see that? So by collapsing the code like this, I can see all 3 methods in one single shot. Now, the next thing I can do is I can click above it and drag down below it. So now all 3 methods are selected. Isn't that cool? I love collapsible code. It's just so awesome. All right, so now I have all 3 selected, but but I don't have my last curly brace selected. I need to be careful with that. So now that I have them selected, I can hit my delete key and they're all gone. All right, so this is done right here. So we did that. All right, now it says rename, move, and add items until your landscape GUI looks like the first page of your Visio diagram. All right, so because we did our design work, remember that? So we have our Visio wireframe diagram and then use a label to hold the image. You can change the icon property of the label to select the image. When you finish creating landscape GUI, it should look something like this. Notice the next and the reset buttons, and these buttons should be called BTN next and BTN reset. So this is what we're after right here. This is what we're targeting. Okay, and let's see. It's going to probably be easier to look at our design work. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to open up our folder. So I'll right click on here. I'm going to hit File Explorer. I'm going to go to Desktop, and then we have a folder called CIS355A. And then right there's my wireframe diagram. So I'm going to double click on it. All right, and we want it to look like this right here. Okay, so that's our target. All right, so let me make this smaller, and I'm going to pull it over to the right hand side and kind of just take up that room there. Okay, and then this right here, this panel, if you come up here to the top, you can actually just hit that little arrow right there, and that'll collapse it. And then to open it back up, you can hit the arrow later on when you need to. All right, so I'm going to collapse that, and then I'm going to drag this over to the right some more, like that, so it takes up the area of the Word document. And then I'm going to just, let's see, I don't even have to hit my minus sign. I think I will one time. Okay, there we go. So that way I can see how everything's looking. Okay. All right, and let me make sure that the tabs and the menu, we're not going to be doing that part. All right, so BTN next, and you can create the icons. Let's see, BTN next respectively, and you can see that we don't have the tabs and the menus. Radio buttons and menu bars will be discussed down here, so that's awesome. And then the tabs, drag another menu, and then event handlers, and that looks good. Let's see where we actually do the tabs. Nope. Okay. Oh, you know what? We're not doing the tabs this week. So I'm going to put a little note here just to let you know that the tabs are not, we're not going to do the tabs this week. All right, so we're going to skip the tabs, and we're also going to skip the menu items for now. All right, so let's go ahead and do the rest of it. And I'm going to flip over here to my Visio, because this will be easier for us to see. And then over here, I'm going to hit my designer. So right there's my designer. And this right here, the name of our project is part of our design. And remember, your project should not say Rick Bird. It should have your name, your first name and your last name, and then landscapes. Okay. And then would you like grass or gravel? Definitely want that. So to get that from this, I can use that label right there. And then you can see I'm not going to need this one right here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. And I'm going to delete this one. And I do want two buttons. So I'm going to keep this button. I'm going to grab the calculate button. And I'm going to drag it over here so that it's over this one. All right, and let me pull it. There we go. And then I'm going to pull this out so they're the same length. All right, so that's going to end up being my my next and my reset. In fact, I can go ahead and take care of that right now. So I'm going to click one time on this button here, and then I'm going to come over here to the text, and change the text to say next, like that. Then I'm going to come over here to the code right there, and I'm going to change the name of the button, the variable name, to BTN next. All right, then I'm going to click on this button here. I'm going to change on the code tab, I'm going to change the name of the button to BTN reset, like that. And then I'm going to go over to properties, and I'm going to change the text. The text is what the user sees, and then I'm going to change that to say reset. Okay, now they're too narrow. I want them a little bit wider. So I'm going to grab the edge. I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to grab the edge and pull it out so that it lines up. Now, when you're resizing things, keep looking for those vertical and horizontal lines. See that dashed line? Because that's NetBeans telling you how it is placing the item on the form. So those dashed lines, and like this line right here tells you it's going to be based on how far away it is from the side. If it has a squiggly line like this, it's saying I'm just going to do whatever on this side. I'm not going to make it anything special. So the way that it's placing it is this distance from the bottom, this distance from this one, this distance from this one, and then it's lining up the lefts of these two buttons. See how that works? So you want to keep your eye on that stuff. Otherwise, it will just, when you run it, it's going to just be over on the left side. It's not going to look very good. All right. So now the next thing is I want this one right here. I'm going to click here. And this one's called LBL Instructions 1. That's fine. And then, so if you go over to code, you can see it's called LBL Instruction 1. I'm okay with that. And then I'm going to go over to properties. And then I wanted to say, would you like grass or gravel yard? So I'm going to go to the text. And then I'm going to delete the text that's in there. And then I'm going to say, would you like a grass or gravel yard? And be really careful with the spelling, because this is what the user is going to see. So as soon as I hit my enter key, you can see it changed right there. Okay, so now the next thing I want is going to be radio buttons, and then also 2 more text fields. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to delete this because I don't need them. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to click and delete. I'm going to click and delete. Now this right here, this one, I think I'm going to use it for this right here, $5 per square feet and $2 per square feet. But I don't need the text fields that go with it. So I'm going to delete the text fields. All right, so now I'm going to click on this one right here. And now I'm going to go over to the properties. I'm going to change this to be 5 per square feet. So $5 per square feet, like that. And then I'm going to come over to this one. I'm going to do the exact same thing. And I'm going to change this one to $2 per square feet, like that. Then I'm going to come back over to, actually I want to stay on this one. And this is the cost for gravel. So I'm going to hit code right here. And I'm going to change it to LBL cost for, and actually let's see, I can get the point across using gravel cost. So that's going to be gravel cost. Okay, then I'm going to click over on this one right there. And then this one right here is going to be LBL to tell everybody to label. And then this is going to be grass cost. All right, so it tells what it's representing. All right, so that's good. So now the next thing that I want is I want radio buttons. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab this radio button right there, and I'm going to drag it. And then again, I'm looking at that horizontal line to see how far away I want it to be. And I think something like that would be really good. Okay, so I'm going to drop it right there. And then the font size, and let's see, the font size, this one right here is, I'm going to hit properties, and this is 18. So this right here, let's go ahead and make it maybe 16, just slightly smaller. So I don't have 16. I can just come in here and type it if I want, like this, and that'll be 16. Or I can just go with 14. I think I'm going to go with 14. So I'm going to hit the OK button, and that looks good. Then I'm going to come over here to the text, and I'm going to change the text over here to grass. like that. And then I'm going to grab the code over here and I'm going to change this to RDO to tell everybody it's a radio button. All right, so now I'm going to right click on this radio button. I'm going to hit copy, and then I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to hit paste. All right, so now I'm going to grab this and I'm going to drag it, and notice I'm using the horizontal line like that. All right, so that should be pretty good right there. Okay, so now this one here, I want to pull that so it's pretty close, and I'm lining up the left-hand side. See the vertical line? And then this one right here, I'm going to pull it pretty close. I'm going to line up the left-hand side. So that looks perfect. I'm liking it. And I think it would look nicer if it was lined up more underneath this, so centered it more underneath. Now you can actually click off of everything and drag, hold down your mouse button and drag, and that right there is called a selection box. And then when you drag, you can put the selection box over the items that you want to select and then release. Look at that, they all get copied. And then I can grab this and I can drag it over and then center it better. Something like that. All right, I'm liking it. Look how nice this looks. Okay, so now the next thing, so I'm going to click on here, make sure, and actually, you know what? I was going to say click on each one and make sure you changed them, but you don't have to. You can actually come down here to the navigation window. So this is our navigator, and then you can, and if this is closed, just open it up. So this right here shows the J-frame. Inside of the J-frame, you have these labels, and then just make sure that everything looks about right. And you can see this one right here says RDO. That's not good. So something went wrong there. And this says RDO1. So the RDO, if I click on it, you can see that this gets the orange highlighting around it. If I click on this one gets the orange highlight around it. And then this also says grass, and this should say gravel. Let's go to the first one, the RDO. And then you can see this one is the one highlighted. I'm going to come over here to code right there, and I'm going to click down here, and I'm going to change it to RDO grass, like that, RDO grass. Then I'm going to go over to the second one, which is this one right here. I'm going to click there, and then this one right here is going to be RDO gravel. RDO gravel. Then I'm hitting properties, and then I'm going to change the text to gravel, like that. All right, so that looks really good. All right, now the next thing is we want to do our image. And remember, in Java, you just use a label. No big deal, you just use a label. So I'm going to grab the label, and then I'm going to pull it over here, and then have it about 3 away, something like that. And then I'm going to grab the corner of the label, and I'm going to drag it nice and big, all the way down to the bottom, something like that. I think that'll look really good. And I can actually pull it wider if I wanted to on both sides. So I'm going to line it up like that. I think that's going to look really good. So now with this label, you can see here that this says label 1. Well, obviously I don't want label 1 on top of my image. So I'm going to come over here to the text, and I'm going to delete the text so it's empty. All right, then I'm going to go over to code. I'm going to click on code, and then I'm going to type LBL image, LBL image. So LBL, it's a label, and then image, and that should be good. Okay, so that's all looking really good. I'm liking it. And let's go ahead and run it and see how it looks. All right, it says that we have errors, so I'm going to hit cancel. So if it ever says it has errors, you need to immediately hit cancel. I have no idea why the run anyway button's there, because you should never run it, all right, if you have errors. So I'm going to hit cancel, and then I'm going to go over to the designer, to the code. I'm going to hit source, and then if you look over here on the right hand side, you can see yes, we do have errors, and then this right here lists the errors right there. Okay, you can see the little red lines. Now if you click on the red line, it'll actually take you to the error, and you can see right here we have validate inputs does not exist anymore. All right, so with this right here, we're going to go ahead and just grab all of this code and then just delete it for now. So I'm going to delete all that code, and then you can see right here submit order does not exist. So I'm going to grab the submit order, and I'm going to delete that code. There we go. Now I look over here and I don't see any more errors. So now I'm going to go ahead and go back over to my designer, and then I'm going to run it again. And this is what it looks like. All right, now we don't have the image added to this yet. I added the image, but then I didn't put a picture in it. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And then how do you add a picture? Well, you make sure it's selected, so make sure that it has an orange line around it. Otherwise, just click it one time in the middle. And then what you do is you go over to Properties right here, and then you go to the icon right there. And if you hit the drop down, because we added these pictures to our project, they are now available for us to use. Isn't that awesome? So I'm going to go ahead and click on Dirt right there. All right, now you can see it made it much, much larger. I don't want it much, much larger, so I'm just going to click and just drag to make it the size that I want it to be, something like that. Okay, and then I'm going to grab the bottom, I'm going to drag it up, again making it the size that I want it to be. And let's see, it's not letting me go higher, so I'm going to click on this one, and then I'm going to hold down my Shift key. I'm going to click on this one, so I've got both of those two. I'm going to drag them up, and then I'm going to have them line up like that on the bottom. Okay, so you can see I used the blue line, and I said the bottom of my button should be lined up with the bottom of the image. And then now I can click and drag this, and it allows me. Okay, so that's looking good. Let's go ahead and run it. All right, now take a look at this and then just determine how does this look to you. All right, and I'm liking it, except this seems lopsided. All right, so if I look at my design over here that I did on the very first week, it looks like I centered this, and boy, this I like this a lot better than I like this. Now I can very easily mimic this just by grabbing all this stuff and moving it over to the right. Okay, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And then in order to grab all of this stuff, what you do is you click on a blank area. So make sure you're not on top of anything. And you click and you drag for your selection box. And then you put that selection box over everything that you want selected. And then when you release, it's all selected. Then I can just grab any item in my selected group and I can just drag. Isn't that cool? So I'm using the blue lines up at the top, and I'm making it 3 lines away. All right, so let's see. And it's actually doing it based on the blue line at the bottom. And I think I can live with that. I think that's still going to come out really nice. All right, so I'm centering it, and I'm liking it. And then this right here, I'm going to pull this over to the left just a little bit. And again, making sure it's 3 away and just kind of centered over it. Okay, let's hit the run again. Let's see how we're looking. All right. I'm pretty happy with that. All right, I'm liking this quite a bit actually. So if you want to play with yours a little bit more, you can change the background color. You can play with it, make it look the way you want. All right, now watch this. If I click here and then I click here, they can both be selected. But that defeats the purpose of a radio button. Radio buttons should only be able to select one item, and that's all. Okay, so how do we fix that? We need to fix that next. So I'm going to close that, and then I took advantage of my design. So now I can close my design. And then now I'm back over here. All right, so here, number 7, the 2 radio buttons must be placed into a button group. Oh, there's the answer. So only 1 radio button can be selected at a time. So to do that, you just drag the button group and drop it on there. And let's go ahead and do it. So right next to radio button is button group. So you just drag that and drop it on your form. Make sure you don't drop it on top of anything. Just drop it on an empty part of the form. And then if you look over at your navigator, over here on the left-hand side, so look at your navigator window, And then you'll see the button group is under other components. All right, and if you don't see button group, open up under other components and you should see it in there. Okay, so we're going to click on the button group. So now it's selected. We're going to go over to the properties right here, and we need to change the name. So I'm going to go over to code, the code tab, and then I'm going to click here. And then this says change the name to BTG yard type. So BTG, to let everybody know that this is a button group, and then yard type, like that. BTG yard type. Okay, so that's perfect. And then what's next? The next thing is click on RDO grass radio button and change the button group to yard type. So I'm going to click here on the grass one, and then I'm going to come over here to properties, and then right there is button group. So I'm going to hit the drop down. I'm going to choose BTG yard type. Now I'm going to click on gravel, and I'm going to do the exact same thing, put that in yard type. So now these two have been placed into the same logical button group. So now if I run this, now only one can be selected at a time. So that's perfect. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and close this. And then we're going to do menus. And menus are easy. They're very, very easy. Once you do a couple, you're going to say, wow, they really are easy with NetBeans. And you just have to know how they work. So the menu bar extends all the way across. So if you look at Eclipse, if you look at NetBeans up here at the top, you can see that this is the menu bar. The entire thing all the way across is the menu bar. Then the menu, this right here is called a menu. File, that's a menu. Edit, that's a menu. View, that's a menu. Okay? And then inside of the menu are menu items. So these are menu items. Okay? And that's the logic right there. So just remember, you have a menu bar is the entire thing. And then you have a menu, and then you have another menu, then you have another menu, and then underneath the menu, you have menu items. And that's how it works. That's the logic. Okay? So what you want to do is you want to open up the swing menu controls. So if I come over here, I can see controls, I can see containers, and I don't see swing menu. Well, guess what? You have to scroll. So just scroll down, and then you'll see swing menus. The swing menus are typically closed by default, so you just want to hit that plus sign right there, and then that will open it. Okay? And then you can see in this group, you have the menu bar, and you have a menu and menu items. The menu bar is the big container that holds menus, and then the menus have menu items. So here it says drag the menu bar to the top of the form and drop it. So I'm going to grab the menu bar, I'm going to drag it up here, and I'm just going to drop it, and boom, there it is. And then it says that it automatically has a file menu and an edit menu. So right click the edit menu and rename it to order to match our wireframe diagram. So I'm going to, and then right click on file and then change it to LMenu file. So this should be LMenu order and then LMenu file. So I'm going to click here to select it. Then I'm going to right click, and then you can see right there edit text, and I'm going to change it to order. I'm going to hit my enter key. Then I'm going to come over here to the code over here because this is selected, and then I'm going to change this to LMNU for menu, LMNU, and then order. And then we're going to come over here to file right here. We're going to click one time on it, and then we're going to change the variable name for it to LMNU file, like that. Okay? So now it says drag a menu item on top of file and then call it exit. So I'm going to grab a menu item right there, and then you just drag it, and then you'll see the dashed line. You can see it better over here. You see the dashed line right there? And I think I'm going to unselect it. So I'm going to deselect this. So let me click on this over here because I really want you to see that dashed line that I'm talking about. So I'm going to grab the menu item. You see that? See that dashed line that I'm talking about? Okay, so you just put the dashed line over it, over file like that, the dash box, and then just release it. Okay, and then you click down here to this item, you right click on it, hit edit text, and then type exit like that. And then with it selected, you come over here to the code, and then you change it to MNI for menu item, exit, MNI, exit. All right, so that's beautiful. And that was pretty easy, wasn't it? All right, so now we drag menu. Let's see. Menu bar will have file, and then we have order, menu order. We did that. And then drag a menu item and drop it on file. Rename the menu item to exit, and then the variable name to exit. Then we want to do another one, drop it on order, and then that's going to be submit order, MNI submit order, and then MNI reset. So I'm going to grab another menu item. I'm going to drag it, and this time I want the dash box to be around order. I'm going to release it. Then I'm going to right click on the, I'm going to click it one time to select it. Now I'm going to right click, I'm going to hit edit text, and then this is going to be submit spacebar order, because that's what the user is going to see. With it selected, I'm going to come over here to the code tab, and I'm going to change this to MNI submit order, like that, MNI submit order. Now I'm going to grab another one, and I'm going to drag it and drop it on top of order, or I could use my little dash line. If you want it to be first, you could release it right there, and it will be the top item. Or I can come down here, and now if I release it, it's going to be the last item. Okay, see the dash line? It tells you where the placement is. Okay, or if you just put it right on top of order and release it, it'll be the last item. Okay, so you can see it's selected. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to hit edit text, and then this is going to be reset. Then I'm going to come over here to code, and I'm going to call it MNI menu item reset, like that. All right, beautiful. So now it says let's create the event handlers for our buttons and our menu items. To do it, you just right click on the next button, and there's actually 3 different ways to do this. You can actually come over here to the button, select it, and then double click on the edge. If you double click on the name, it will rename it. So it'll let you rename it, but I don't want to do that. If you double click on the edge, then it will create an event handler. The other thing you can do is you can come over here to events, and if you click on events, then it gives you the ability to do an event on all of these guys. So you can see I can do any of these events. I can code on it and have an action take place based on any of these events. All right. The default though is action performed. So to do the action performed, you just come over here and hit the arrow, and then you just click on BTN next action performed. So next button, right? Action performed. The third way to do it is you can also right click on it. Whoops, I accidentally created it. So I'm going to pop over here. I'm going to hit designer. Okay, so I click on designer to get out of my page. The third way you can do it is you can right click on it, and then you can go to events, and then you can go to action, and then action performed. And then you click on that, and then that will take you to the method. Now you can see I'm at the bottom, so you need to just scroll up until you see the blinking line. And this is the button next action performed method. So NetBeans actually does the event handler, and it creates the event method. So this is the method, and it did the event handler for us in the code that it writes. So you can see right here inside the generated code, if I hit the plus sign to look at that generated code, and then I go down, I will be able to see the button reset, there's action listener, and then button next. So this one right here, okay? So this right here on the button next, it adds an action listener, and then it does an anonymous inner class right here, creating a new object, and this is called an anonymous inner class. And inside of that anonymous inner class, it needs to have an action perform method, and then inside that method, whatever you want to happen. So what it does is just creates a method. So when you click the BTN next, the action perform fires and it runs whatever is inside of the curly braces. Well, they set it up as a method so you can then put your code inside that method and you don't have to come back here. In fact, you cannot change this stuff at all. This is written by NetBeans. So if I come over here and I hit my space bar, you can hear me hitting my space bar, but nothing's changing because this is protected code. Okay? So I'm going to come back up and I'm going to hit the minus sign so that it's closed back down. And then I know that any code that I put here in BTN next is going to execute. All right. So now it's going to execute whenever somebody clicks on the BTN next button. So then the code, we want to use this code right here. This code right here is going to create the second form using the landscape GUI info class to create the object. And then the object is going to be called info form. And then at that reference, we're going to actually create a new JFrame object using the landscape GUI info form code. Then we're going to set the default close operation to dispose, because the default, if you don't change it, is going to exit your entire application. But we don't want to do that. We just want this form to close. And then it's in memory, but guess what? You can't see it until you set visible to true. So grab all of this code right here, and then we're going to copy it. And then we're going to come here to the button next action right here. So click inside there, and then simply paste. All right. And then you can see that the code is not lined up properly. So you can very easily just come up here and then hit source and then format, source format. And now you can see it's lined up. It did not line up the comments, so I'm going to go ahead and just tab to line up the comments, but it did line up everything else. All right, now JFrame you can see is bleeding. If you just hover your mouse over it, you can see it cannot find it. Now I'm expecting it to import. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to click here, and there's an import for JFrame. So that's what I'm expecting. So therefore I can go ahead and click on it and let NetBeans write that line of code for me. Okay. Now I've got a blank line down here. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that just to keep my code nice and clean. All right, and there we go. Okay, so now go back to the design window, right click on the reset button. All right, and before we do that, let's test this code. So you want to write a little bit of code, then test it. So I'm going to hit design, and you actually don't have to be on the design window to run it. I can actually be on source. So I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to go ahead and just run it. All right, so this right here shows up like this, and then I hit next, right there, next, and look at that. The second window opens up. Isn't that cool? And then I close it, and I'm back at my first window. All right, so when you hit next, it opens it up, and you can see that they're both open. And in production, you typically will make this one invisible. This right here, you just you set visible to false. And then when they close this one, you then reset this visible to true. But we're not going to do that. Let's not worry about that. All right, but you can see here that, yay, look at that. You can open up one using the other. Isn't that cool? Okay, let's go ahead and close this. And then we're going to go back to the design window. So I'm going to hit design, and then we're going to go to reset. And I'm going to right click on reset. I'm going to hit events, action, and then action performed, like that. So now here I'm on the method, the event method. This is called the event method. And then I'm going to come over here, and we just want to call the reset method. That's all we're going to do. So I'm going to grab that reset. I'm going to do a Control C, and then I'm going to come up here, and then I'm going to hit my tab key to get to the right spot, and then I'm going to do a Control V. All right, and then the reset method is burning. So what we're going to do is come over here to the left-hand side, and if I click on here, it says I can write that method for you. So let's let it do that. I'm going to click there, and then when it writes methods for you, it actually will write at the very, very bottom. So I'm going to go to the very bottom, and there it is right there. Okay. Now notice that we're only calling the reset method, and you want to do methods like crazy, because the buzzword that you're going to hear is write once, use everywhere. So write once, use everywhere. And because if you keep rewriting the code, you're wasting time. But if you use methods, you write the code one time, and you can call that method from all over your application, no problem. Okay? So it says for the reset, add the reset method to the bottom. Be careful to keep inside of the class, because if you type it yourself, some people will put it down here. If you put it down here, your application will crash because you're outside of the class, because this last one right here closes the class. And methods have to be inside of classes. Okay? So then it says, let's go ahead and use this code right here. So I'm going to grab this code, and then all the way down, and then I'm going to right click, I'm going to hit copy. Now I'm going to highlight this entire method, and then I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to hit paste. All right, so now that's done. Okay, so now I'm going to get rid of that blank line, because I had 2 lines down here. You want to have 1 blank line between blocks of code. Now this right here says LBL photo, and it says LBL photo does not exist. Well, it should, because we made it. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to hit designer, and I'm going to click one time here, okay, and you can see it's actually LBL image. Okay, so we want it to match the code, so I can either change the code or I can change the object name. All right, but it has to match. So this right here is LBL image, the code is LBL photo. So again, I can change this code, but I'm not going to, just because I know that a lot of code over here is going to be referencing LBL photo. So instead, I'm going to change the object. So I'm going to hit design. I'm going to click one time on the photo. I'm going to go over to code, because that's where we change the object name, right? And the variable name is LBL image. I'm going to change that to LBL photo, like that, LBL photo. Okay, so if the code does not match what you named your object, then just rename your object. Okay. All right. Now also, this is a big gap, and this is a tiny gap, so it's not looking good to me. So I'm going to click on the form, on a blank area of the form. Now I'm going to highlight everything, and then I'm going to drag. Whoops, I clicked off of it accidentally. Let's try that again. So I'm going to click on a blank area of the form. I'm going to highlight everything. Then I'm going to grab something, one of the items, and I'm just going to drag it. So I'm just going to drag it up a little bit so it's more centered. There we go. So now I've got this room here, and this looks about the same. Okay? All right. So now I'm going to come back over here to source, and you can see that the LBL photo is now green because it found the object. Now it says image icon does not exist. So we're going to come over here and we're going to hit this, and I'm expecting it to import. So there's import. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and then you can see that now that's good to go as well. Okay. So when you hit the reset button, we're going to switch the image back to dirt. You see that? So we're going to clear out our buttons. So the radio buttons will be deselected because we're using the button group. So that's going to clear out the selection, and then we're going to switch this back to dirt. Awesome. Okay, so now we want to now do the radio buttons. So we're going to do RDO grass first. So I'm going to hit design. Then I'm going to click off so that everything is deselected. I'm going to right click on grass. I'm going to hit events, action, action performed. And you can see that my event method is not showing. I just have to scroll up and look for the insertion point. So you can see it's right there. And then I confirm that this is radio grass button, action perform method. So this is the method for my RDO grass. Okay, so now it says use this code right here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this code, and I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to hit copy. Then I'm going to highlight this to do right there, and then I'm going to paste, Control V. Okay, and then the URL is not being found, so I'm going to come over here, I'm going to click on this, I'm expecting it to be imported, and then I've got two imports. All right, so which one do I need? Well, make sure you choose the java.net. We're not working with a document. We're not trying to print a document. You see that? So this right here is going to be printing the document. Instead, I want this first one, java.net.url. Make sure you choose that one, click on it, and then the blood goes away. Now you can see my tabbing is all messed up. So I'm going to come up here to source, and I'm going to hit format, so I'll make it look nice. Okay? All right, now here I do have a blank line. You can leave it if you like it. I'm going to pull it out. Now when I run this, and I hit grass, you can see now grass shows. Isn't that cool? If I hit gravel, there's no change because we have not coded it yet. But if I hit reset, it goes back to dirt and nothing is selected. Isn't that cool? So just try that out. See that? Very cool, huh? All right, let's go ahead and click File up here, and then we hit Exit. Nothing happens, so we definitely need to code that. Okay, so go ahead and close, and then let's come on over here, and then now we've got some code to do for the gravel. So we're going to come over here, and we're going to hit Designer. We're going to click one time on gravel. We're going to right-click it, Events, Action, Action Performed. And then you can see I'm not at the event method, so I just scroll up, look for the insertion point, there it is, and then there it is right there. Okay, so now you can actually do these 3 lines of code with one single line of code, and this is how you do it. So I'm going to grab this code, I'm going to right click on it, I'm going to hit copy, and now I'm going to highlight this to do item, and so it will get replaced. Now I'm going to right click, and now I'm going to hit paste. Okay, my tabbing's messed up, so I'm going to hit source, format, and then everything was fixed except for my comment. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the front. I'm going to hit my tab key to get that looking nice as well. So you can see that this right here gets the location, and then we convert it to an icon, and then we set the icon on the label. So this right here gets the location of the file, and we use it as a constructor of the image icon. So that creates the icon, a new icon, and then that new icon that was created with this location is then used to set the icon for this label. So you can see that we did these 3 lines of code with one single line, and you want to be careful. You don't want to get too fancy, because you have to remember that approximately half of all development cost is updating. So next year they may ask us to do an update on this application, and if you get too fancy, then you're not going to be able to do it, because a year from now you're going to forget the code that you wrote, because you will have already worked on 10 other projects. Okay, so you need to make sure that you make it nice and clean. If you understand this, then you want to use this because it's nice and tight. But if you do not understand it, then you want to spell it out a little bit more. And then also you want to be thinking that you may not even be doing the updates. They may move you on to a more sophisticated project, and they may have a new developer, with less skills than you as the maintenance person. All right, because you're the talented person, so they're going to want you on the newer projects working your magic. And then they'll hire somebody who maybe is a newer programmer, and they will have that person as a maintenance person. Okay, so just make sure your code is very understandable, so that somebody with less skills than you is able to maintain it. Okay, all right. So now we've got that set. I'm going to go ahead and run it real quick. and then grass, gravel, nice, I love it. Isn't that cool? All right, and then I'm going to hit reset, and we're back to dirt. All right, so now I'm going to close this. All right, are you having fun? So are you having fun? I hope you are. All right, so close the application if it's running. Go to design view. So I'm going to go to design view. And then we're going to do the menus. So the menu exit is the one we're going to do right now. So come over here and click on file and then click on exit. With exit selected, right click, and then we're going to hit events. Then we're going to say action, action performed. Then I'm going to grab this code right here, and then I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to grab this right here, and then I'm going to paste. All right, and then I'm going to get rid of that extra line, and then I'm going to flip up here. I'm going to hit source format. So to exit out, it's just system exit. And then the number, if everything went well, you put a 0. That just tells the environment that everything went well. If something went wrong, you put a -1, or you give the error code number based on your company and what you all have decided the error codes are. Okay, so everything went well. We exited out of the application. That's why we're giving back a 0. All right, so now we're going to come over here to design view. We're going to go to submit order, menu item. So we're going to come over here to design view, order, submit order selected, right click, events, action, action performed. And then here, I'm going to grab this code right here, and I'm going to copy that. Now I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to paste it there. And this right here just opens up a J option pane, and it shows a message dialog that's centered over this J frame. So this J frame is the parent, and it's simply saying that it's not complete. So that way, if somebody hits the submit order and nothing happens, they won't think that the application is broken. Instead, they'll see a message box pop open that simply tells them that this method has not been completed. Okay? All right, so now design view again, and go to reset, and we're just going to call the reset method, and that's it. So we're going to come back over to design view, we're going to click on reset, and then we're going to right click, events, action, action perform. And I'm going to go up, there it is, and then here's what's so cool. I do not have to retype the reset code. I can just call the method, and I'm done. So again, you write the code one time and you use it everywhere. All right, so methods are so critical. All right, so that's done. Now it says run your application, test it. Radio buttons, menus, images really add a lot of value. They really do. It's just amazing. Because look at this. Go ahead and run your application. And I'm going to minimize this so you can really get a feel for this. So imagine you hand this application to the client runs it, and then they hit grass, and then they hit next, and it pops open the next window. And here they put in their client information. So Jack Black, 123 Annie Street, and let's use Los Angeles, maybe. California 90021, and I'll put that K on there. And then let's say Los Angeles, they have tiny yards, so 10 by 10, let's say. But then Jack Black, man, that guy's rich. You know, he's got money all over the place, so he's probably has a big yard. Let's go 20 by 30. All right, now I'm going to hit calculate. All right, and there's the details, the order summary. Okay. Now, when I close the application, I'm going to lose all this information. I should be able to hit submit order and have it either saved to a file or saved to a database. But right now, when I hit submit order, it just says the method's not complete. Okay, and we'll take care of that next week. And actually week 5, we're going to be reading and writing to files, And then week 6, we're going to be reading and writing to databases. All right, so we'll get there, but let's just keep on going one step at a time. So for right now, though, I'm going to go ahead and close this. And then if I hit reset down here, it goes back ready for the next client. Okay, and then if I choose something, I come up here and I hit reset, then it's going to do that for us. Okay, it's going to reset it as well, just as if we hit this button. Okay, now if I hit File, Exit, now before I do, imagine your client is using this application. Isn't that cool? I think your clients can be very happy. Now, if this were production, if I was doing consulting for a client, I would also add the client's logo. So what I would probably do is just pull all of this over to the left a little bit, and then I would put the logo, the client's logo right there, something like that. All right, but this is professional. Doesn't this look great? All right, so now I'm going to hit File, now I'm going to hit Exit, and the application closes. Doesn't that look beautiful? All right, I hope you're having a great time and learning a lot with this. This is professional software development. So play around with this, make sure that you're on track, and let's see what else we have left. I think that's it. Okay, so from here, we want to close NetBeans, and then we're going to do that. So I'm going to close NetBeans, and then it says go to the project folder. So right here is the project folder. And then it says right-click on the project folder and choose Send to Compressed Zip File. So I'm going to come over here to the folder. There it is. I'm going to right-click on it, and then I'm going to choose Send to Compressed File. And you can see it creates a zip file. You can see that zipper right there. All right. Then it said rename it. Let's see. Rename using week 3, so I'm going to say week 3 hyphen advanced GUI, and then a hyphen, and then your name. So make sure you type in your full name like that. All right, so now with this file right here, that's what you submit right there. All right, so I'm going to close this, and then what your professor is going to do, your professor is going to download the file, then your professor is going to right click on this and then hit extract all like that. And then your professor is going to pop it with NetBeans to open it up and look at what your professor gets. Isn't that cool? All of your code, all of everything. So your professor can run your application and be as impressed with your work as you are. All right? So remember to zip up the file, and I'm going to delete this right here. And then this right here is what you submit. Just go to the course website, go to the project, and then you'll see the submit button. Click on that, browse for the file, and then upload this, and then you're all done. All right, have a great day.